Hi, everybody. Day one of the Lori Vallow Daybell finale, we hope. Her third and we hope final case trial. We've already seen 3 trials with this woman. This is the one where she's on trial for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreax. So I'm going to tell you all about what happened on day one right after this intro. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is the second video I've done today. I also did a Karen Reed upload for day 27. Yeah, we're really into that one. But this is day one of the Lori Vallow Daybell case. So before we get into it, if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button, it helps YouTube push this video out to other people. Also, please consider subscribing. I'm very close to 4,000, and I do want to do a 4,000 subscriber giveaway soon. So let's get into what happened on day one of the Karen. Oh, see, I'm talking Karen Reed. What happened on day one of the Lori Vallow Daybell case trial? This is her third trial. Now, as you may recall, I don't know where you've been if you don't know anything about Lori Vallow Daybell. First trial, she was convicted of conspiracy to commit the murders of her children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, and conspiracy to commit the murder of Tammy Daybell, the then wife of her current husband, Chad Daybell. In the second trial, she was also not only conspiracy to commit murder, but murder. In the second trial, she was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder of her then husband, Charles Vallow. This woman's been married 5 times, currently married to Chad Daybell, who is sitting on death row also for murders of Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, and Tammy Daybell. It's a long story. If you looked at my playlist on this, there's probably hundreds of videos. In any case, she is now on trial in front of the same judge that she was in front of for Charles Vallow case in Arizona. Same prosecutor, Trina Kay. This one is for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreax. And I have to admit, it's not one that I paid much attention to and didn't really know the whole story of it. Now, if you want to watch the actual opening statements and direct testimony of Brandon Boudreax, I'll put a link up to that video up in the eye. If not, I'm just going to recap it for you. Trina Kay starts out her opening statement by describing what happened to Brandon Boudreax. You know, he drives up to his house. There's a Jeep parked there, kind of in front of his driveway, but not in front of his driveway. We're going to get into more about where that Jeep was. But he notices that it's got a Texas license plate. It's just sitting there idling. The windows have dark tint. There's no rear tire on the Jeep. Most Jeeps, they're known for having this rear tire, but this one didn't have a rear tire. And all of a sudden, the back window opens, and he hears a loud bang, and his window shatters. And immediately, he just accelerates and keeps on going because he had not turned into his driveway yet. He was about to turn into his driveway. And I'm going to explain the logistics of where all the cars were here in a few minutes. So Trina goes on to say that the defendant's brother, Alex Cox, was in that Jeep Cherokee, lying in wait, idling for over an hour in that parking space, waiting to murder Brandon Boudreax. And that the Jeep was loaned to him by his sister, Lori Vallow. Now, keep in mind, this jury knows nothing about Lori Vallow Daybell or Chad Daybell or this whole thing. I don't know where these people have been, but they know nothing about it, I think. And how could you not know anything about this case? Anyway, so Trina Kay then goes into the background of this case, that Brandon Boudreax was married to Melanie, who is Lori Vallow Daybell's niece. On June 25th of 2019. Now you have to keep in mind what's going on here. Lori meets Chad in late 2018, and then things just start to unravel. 2019, everybody starts dying. Charles the kids, Tammy. There's an attempted murder of Brandon. And then Alex dies mysteriously, natural causes. In any case, a lot's going on in 2019. So I've been trying to keep all of these dates in mind as I'm going through what's happening here. So on June 25th of 2019, Brandon and Melanie get into this huge fight, and it goes on for quite some time that day. Needless to say, they end up in divorce proceedings. She wants a divorce. They start getting a divorce. Meanwhile, there's an incident that occurs, and this is how Trina K puts it. Meanwhile, there's an incident that occurs, an incident on July 11th in Chandler, where the police took photos of vehicles in front of that home, including the Jeep Cherokee. This is the home of Lori Vallow Daybell. July 11th is the day that Charles Vallow was murdered. But the jury does not know that. So, interesting, you guys. All right, so let's get to the Brandon Boudreax. Oh, first, I forgot the opening statement of Lori Daybell. Let me just talk a little bit about this because she's pissed at this judge. She's pissed. She's had it. She wasn't feeling well. He made her go to trial. She had already done one motion to get this judge off the case that was denied. She filed another one yesterday. I assume because he's making her come to trial when she's not well. And I think it's more than just that she thinks she's not well. It's that she doesn't think she can properly prepare for this trial, given the fact that she's not well. So she's hunched over when the jury's not in there. She's leaning, got her head down on the desk. She will not talk to this judge. She doesn't even acknowledge him when he talks to her. So she gets up for her opening statement, and she's right away, she's arguing. When you do an opening statement, you're just supposed to tell the jury what the evidence is going to show. But she's arguing, I'm the only one that got charged with this, I'm just a loving person. And it was this pitiful voice, and Trina kept objecting. The prosecutor kept objecting, rightfully so, because this is not proper opening statement. But Lori just kept going. She would stop while Trina K would object, and the judge would sustain the objection, admonish her. She would just keep going with whatever the speech was she wrote. I think at this point, she has just thrown all caution to the wind. And it's like, what are the consequences? Go ahead. Fine me, whatever, give me 30 more days in jail. Who cares? I'm in there for the rest of my life. I'm going to do this the way I want to do this. So, like I said, go back and watch that. It's interesting. And it's basically, boo-hoo. Here she brings up a couple of interesting points, though. Regarding the color of the Jeep, Brandon Boudreax, when he's calling 911, you're going to hear the 911 call later on. When he's calling 911, he describes that as being a green Jeep. And then a neighbor describes it as being a different color. Now, I don't know what color it actually was, but so she's questioning, she actually is questioning whether or not this even happened at all. Did it really happen? Okay. And then she ends her opening with, I'm just a loving person. I'm just a loving person. Now, what didn't come out on opening statements is anything about the religious aspect to this case. Nothing. So I got to believe the jury's wondering what the heck is going on here? Like, why in the world would this soft-spoken, loving woman be on trial for this? What is going on? Okay, so we get Brandon on the stand. Brandon's 40 years old and currently he's remarried. His prior marriage was to Melanie, and her last name was Cope. They got married in October 31st of 2008. And they were married for a little over 10 years. They were divorced in October of 2018. They have 4 children together. Those children are ages 9, 5, 4, and 2, or that's the ages they were at the time. So their divorce began in July of 2019 and was finalized in October of 2019. So he knew Lori Vallow through Melanie, because Lori was her aunt, but they were very, very close because Melanie lost her mother at an early age, and Lori kind of became that mother figure, and they spent a lot of time together. He also drew close to Charles Vallow and knew Alex Cox. He says he did not know Chad Daybell, never met Chad Daybell, but there was a relationship between Lori and Melanie. They looked to her. Melanie looked to her like a mom. So towards the end of 2018, early 2019, now that's when Lori goes to that conference. She meets Chad. They fall in love. They realize that they've been married in prior lives, and they start this little cult where they're having these meetings to exorcise the demons out of Charles Vallow. All of a sudden, everybody's got a demon: Tylee, JJ, and Brandon. That's what this is all about. They were trying to exorcise the demons out of Brandon. So, and it's also about money. That house that they were living in was, well, let me back up. They go through this divorce, he and Melanie, and the agreement that they came up with was he would have the kids Monday and Tuesday, she would have them Wednesday and Thursday, and then they would have every other weekend. But financially, he would sell the house. First, he was going to rent the house, have a place for her and the kids to live, so that he could get the house sold, because it's over $1 million, this house. And he wanted to keep it staged, so he set up the kids and Melanie in a rental house. So as it's getting closer to this house selling, he realizes he's got to find a place to rent, and that's how he gets into the home where all of this occurs. So towards the end of 2018 and 2019, he starts to notice that Lori and Melanie are spending more and more time together, because this is not what he said on the stand, but we know that Melanie's going over to Lori's house to have these little cult meetings. So he starts to notice that there's issues with the marriage. And he even spoke to Charles about it one time, about Lori interfering with his marriage. So on June 25th of 2019, now this is just like a couple of weeks before Charles is murdered, June 25th, they get into this long disagreement. His grandfather had passed away, and they were supposed to go to the funeral. She all of a sudden decides, I don't want to go to the funeral. I don't want to go. And then they get into this argument, and she starts accusing him of being gay, accusing him of hacking Lori's computer. She said God had revealed to her that he was gay. He says, I'm not gay. I'm married. I got 4 kids. And that he was trying to help Charles take away Lori's temple recommend. So at this point, Trina K has to get Brandon Boudreax to explain, what is this temple recommend? So if you recall the trial of Charles Vallow, where he was trying to get her temple recommend taken away, the plan for Charles was he was going to show up at that home where she was, and Alex was present at the time, and he was going to have this sort of intervention, and they were going to record her talking all this nonsense and then take it over to the stake president of the LDS church and get her temple recommend taken away. So, and he explained what the temple recommend is. It's like, and he explained the significance of the temple and the significance of getting that taken away. It's not a good thing. Like, this is something you really covet if you're a member of that church, having that temple recommend and the ability to go to the temple. So he texted Lori that evening, and they put those texts into evidence.
So we see on June 25th of 2019 at 6:45 p.m. The first message that you sent. And was this phone number, the 808 number, Lori Vallow's phone number?
Correct.
In the message, what did you tell Lori?
I told her that Melanie believed I helped to try to get her temporary recommend taken away, and that we both knew that it wasn't true. Do you want me to just read it?
Sure.
Lori, I sent this to Charles. I'm sending it to you as well. Charles, Melanie believes I helped you to try to get Lori's temple recommend taken away. You and I both know that's not true. She does not believe me. I wanted to send this to both you and Lori. If either of you care at all for me or my children, you'll come forward and be truthful. I've never done anything to hurt either of you. I can't believe you would lie to her about something like this. I gave you a blessing when you're worst in my home. My children will be punished if my wife leaves me or can't believe me when I have done nothing. This is on your heads to make it right.
So your initial thing was about that temple recommend because that was so important, right?
Yes.
But that was just one of the lies that had been told to you by Melanie.
Yes, and at this time I didn't know that she also believed that I was gay. That came after I had sent these texts.
Did you get a response after this first text?
No.
Do we see then a second text at 9:10 p.m., same day, September 25th?
Yes.
What did you say then?
At least have the respect to talk to me to my face, not whispered behind my back. She believes you and you are lying. This is going to affect my children.
Okay. Did she respond to you then?
No.
He said after that night, after they had this long argument, after that evening, he never spent time alone again with his wife. One argument, they end up in divorce. He, on September 13th, he signs a lease for a rental house because now his house is sold and he needs to get into this rental house. But Melanie contacts him and says he was supposed to move in, October 1st. Melanie contacts him and says she needs to go out of town. Would he take the kids? So he wants to get the house ready for the kids. So he takes possession of this rental home early and starts getting it prepared for the kids. So he quickly moves into the house, and on September 26th, he gets the kids. So then he explains that he was moving himself, and a couple of neighbors saw him moving and they offered to help. Here's a truck, let's get this done. So those neighbors, 2 neighbors, helped him move. And then there was like a total of 4 people that helped him move. Those 4 people knew his new address, those 4 people. And then Melanie asked for his new address. So 5 people total. And he didn't think anything of it because Melanie is the mother of his kids and she needs to know where he lives. So 5 people know his new address, 5, at the time of this incident, which was on October 2nd. Nobody else knows. And on the morning of October 2nd, he gets the kids up and he gets them all. He says, you got to wake them up one at a time because they all have different needs, diaper changes, things like that. So he gets them off to school. 2 of them were in elementary school. 1 he had to drop off at preschool. The littlest one, part of the custody arrangement was because he worked, she would go with her mother during the day. And he would go to this park to drop off the little girl. He would make sure mom was there. He saw her run into mom's arms, and then he knew she was dropped off. He would open the car, she'd go run to mom, and that was it. So that's what he did that day. But he didn't do what they all expected him to do and go home. He went to the gym and spent an hour and a half in the gym. So that Jeep had been idling in front of his house for over an hour. So I'm going to play for you him describing what actually happened. Here it is.
That morning, I made my usual left onto Phelps Street, and there's one house and then my house, and so it's not like you're driving. You're coming through a turn, so you're not moving super fast, and there's not a lot of distance, so I don't really push the gas very hard. But I remember coming around the corner, kind of letting it almost kind of coast as I was waiting for it to catch the signal and send my my garage door up. And while I was doing that, I noticed a Jeep that was parked, and it was really awkward.
Why was it awkward?
It was parked on top of the car that was normally there. So there's usually a van there, and it was just like parked nose to nose to the van. And it was like, the back of it was almost blocking my driveway. It was parked so you just wouldn't think anyone would choose to park like that. So it kind of stood out to you right as you came around that corner. I noticed it had a Texas plate. The other thing that was awkward about it was and no back tire, which Jeeps always have the back tire. That's like their thing. So all of that stood out, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of time when you're coming around a corner like that, but all of that just like, I was like, oh, that's weird. And I remember thinking my neighbor must know somebody from Texas. Because I'm new, I don't know anybody yet. And I was like, and man, they parked awkward. Like that's a really crappy park job.
So that we understand, was the Jeep parked sort of the opposite way of traffic?
Yes,
And so when you come around the corner, you're seeing the back of the Jeep.
correct.
And you said it was nose to nose with a white vehicle?
Yeah, I believe it's a van.
And was that a vehicle you had seen in the few days you had lived there?
Yeah, it had been parked there every day so far.
Okay. So you recognized that one. Was there a lot of other vehicles parked on the street?
No,
Just that Jeep right up to that one and on your driveway?
correct.
When you were coming in and sort of slowing down, what do you see happen?
So as I let the car kind of coast in, the back window pops up. I see a muzzle. I hear a bang. And your fight or flight kicks in at that point. So for me, I just immediately thought, and my window shattered. All that happened in like the snap of a finger. And so I just immediately thought someone's shooting at me because I saw a muzzle. So I hit the accelerator and I just went straight. I no longer was planning on turning into my driveway to let the garage door trigger. And
Let me have you pull your mic just a little bit down again.
yeah, I'm sorry. I can lean forward. Could you hear all of that?
So let me go a little bit through it. So you said you saw the rear window open.
Yes.
Is that sort of the window that normally the tire would block from opening?
Yes.
Did you see any hands or anything pushing it open?
I can't say I did. The windows were dark, and I remember it lifting, and I remember seeing a muzzle.
Let's talk about the muzzle. Could you tell, was it a handgun muzzle, a rifle muzzle? What are we talking about?
It looked like a rifle or a long gun. Yes. Also, possibly like there was a silencer on it or a suppressor or something, because I remember the muzzle looked a little bit awkward at the end.
Okay. Have you shot guns before?
Yes.
Have you shot rifles before?
Rifles and handguns and shotguns.
Did you grow up sort of shooting, hunting?
Yeah, my family hunts. I'm not a big hunter myself.
But you're familiar then with rifles and shotguns?
Yes.
Had you shot handguns before?
Yes.
So when you saw this, what did you think it was, the muzzle that you saw?
I mean, you had a very short window, but it looked like a rifle to me with maybe a suppressor or something on it.
Okay, so it was able to come out of the window enough that it looked like a rifle to
Yes.
you. You said you heard something. Can you describe that for us?
It's a loud bang, gunshot. That's the only thing I can think of.
And you've heard gunshots before.
Lots of gunshots, yeah.
So you hear this and you recognize that as a gunshot.
Yes,
And you said then your window shattered.
correct.
Did you see a hole through your window?
No, which was confusing. So I was, all this stuff is happening quick. I'm sure I had some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Shock, some form of shock. I'm sure there's a little bit of that, but I remember the first thought I had was I need to call 911. Someone just shot at me. So that, you know, I remember my phone flying forward and backward because I was driving quickly and accelerating quickly. I remember getting my phone and calling 911 and just, I mean, I remember having a hard time breathing, you know, just feeling overwhelmed that somebody shot at me. And then I think maybe because I was feeling a little guilty or something, I remember thinking like, oh, maybe, I mean, there's no bullet in my car. I don't see a bullet hole anywhere. Maybe they did, maybe it wasn't a real gun. Maybe I'm overthinking this, you know. You have a lot of thoughts going through your head.
Did you?
Now, so after this, he kind of explains to everyone what happened. He calls 911. We're going to hear that 911 tape. And the vehicle, here's a picture of the vehicle. He was driving a Tesla, and the window it's not like a normal window. It's, I didn't understand the whole thing, but the window shattered when the bullet hit the vehicle. And if you look on the right side of the screen, you'll see something on the ground there in the driveway. That is the window. When the Tesla door opens, that window just fell out, and it was being held together by the window tinting, but it had shattered. And he thought to himself, you know, it's supposed to go, you know, bullets should have gone through the window, not shattered the window. But there's a reason for that, because it didn't hit the window. It actually hit the vehicle. You can see where that bullet hit the vehicle. So he explained that that's the wrong case. That's funny. So he explained, why don't I have that picture here? Hold on. Let me grab that picture for you. Here it is. Okay. So he explained, if you see where that pin is in the right part of the lower right part of the screen, you'll see like a little white thing there. That's the front bumper of a minivan that was his neighbor's. And he hadn't lived there but, you know, a week or so, but that minivan was always there. And you see that the cars are all parking in one direction, you know, with the flow of traffic. Well, the Jeep was actually parked where the pin is, but the front bumper of the Jeep was up against the front bumper of that minivan that you can only see a sliver of. So when that back window opened, he was coming in the other direction, and he was about to pull into the driveway, and that Jeep was almost blocking a little bit of his driveway, and he thought it was kind of odd that it was parked like that. When the window opened, he was able to shoot through his window there. So I thought that was really interesting. So here is the 911 call he made.
And if we can publish that.
Go ahead.
Gee, I moved to a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove?
October 2nd, 2019. 9 hours, 14 minutes, 53 seconds.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where
they're in a Jeep. I'm in the Cooley Station neighborhood. I was pulling in my house at 38755 East. Away, but I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little off breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove away?
Jeep Wrangler, had a Texas plate on it.
Jeep Wrangler?
It was olive green.
Olive green? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. Texas license plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get the plate. I'm sorry. I got a little nervous.
That's okay. That's all right. Oh, which way did they go? Do you remember?
They're driving south towards Pecos Road, between Pecos and Wrecker.
Okay. Okay. You don't see the vehicle anymore?
No, they left. They drove off.
Did you see how many people were in the Jeep? Sir?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, did you see how many people were in the Jeep?
There must have been at least two because somebody shot at me and then somebody else drove off, and I don't think they had enough time to go climb from the back into the front.
Right. Okay. And then do you have any injuries? Did they shoot at you?
They shot at me, it hit my window, it bounced off. It might not have been a real gun. It was loud, but it might have been like a paintball gun or something. I mean, it should have hit me or gone through my window. It just shattered it. It didn't go through.
Okay. Okay. And your window is shattered?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have no idea who these people are?
No idea.
Are you okay?
They were just parked like right in front of my house.
Okay. They were parked out. So they were parked across the street in front of your house?
You know, in front, right on the same side of the street as my house, right in front. There's a minivan there. They're just parked right in front of that.
Okay.
I'm pulling into my house because they're gone.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
In my car.
Where are you at?
In my car at my house at 38
Okay.
East Phelps Street. I'm going to walk over here and see if I can see what they shot at me.
And what kind of car were you in?
I'm in a black Tesla Model X.
It's a black what?
Tesla Model X.
Okay, black Tesla Model X. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have officers on the way to meet you.
Okay.
Do you want to go inside or do you want to wait outside wherever you feel?
I'll wait out here. Yeah, I don't know that it was a real gun. Maybe it was. I can't tell. I don't think it was because we should have gone through my window.
Okay. All right. And what is your name?
My name's Brandon Boudreax.
And your phone number? Okay. Okay. I'm going to stay on the line with you just to make sure you're safe, just in case they come back. Do you have any weapons on you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the officer pulling up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Looks like he's coming up Phelps. You said 3875 East Phelps, correct?
Correct. I wonder if he's on. There's another section of it. He might be on another section.
Okay, because his car is showing right near Fisher Lane and Phelps Street.
I'm at, what is the cross street? Sorry, I just moved really quick. Yeah, I'm at Fisher and Phelps. I don't see it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's funny. His car was showing there for a second, and now it's showing back at Higley and Pecos. So that's kind of weird.
Wonder if he saw the Jeep drive off or something.
Maybe. I know that there's actually an officer that's heading towards you, and then there's other officers that are dispatched that are looking for the car. So we've got several guys looking out for the car, but we have one headed towards your house.
Okay.
I think he accidentally hit his arrive button is what happened because he's still moving. So just out of nowhere, did you see the guy that
I didn't see who it was. It was weird because I was pulling in and I saw a Jeep, Texas plate, and I thought, oh, that's weird. My neighbor must have someone visiting. And then they lifted up their little back window in their Jeep, and I saw a muzzle, and then I heard a snap and my window shattered. So I just, instead of turning into my driveway, I just hit the gas and drove off because I didn't know. And kind of when I got my bearings, I realized I should call 911.
Okay.
So then I drove, and then as I didn't drive very far. I just drove around the corner and waited for you guys to pick up, and then I kind of saw them come around the corner and go down the road and start driving down south towards Pecos and Brecker.
Okay. And did they look like Hispanic?
And I knew that was the only way out.
Males?
I didn't see a person at all. I didn't get to see a person.
Okay.
I knew there was only one way out of Pecos Manor, and that's down there on Pecos Road, so that's why I told you that.
Okay. All right. I do see the officer pulling up on Fisher from Fairview.
Okay. So he's coming from the other way. He'll come around right now. I'll see him in just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I see him.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and let you go.
Now, during that, did you hear that loud crash when he was on the? Go back and listen again. There's a loud crash. That's the window, because as he's talking to the 911 operator, he comes back home and he opens the thing while he's on the phone with her. The door opens because he wants to obviously get out of the vehicle, and the window comes crashing down. That's what you heard on that 911 call. But you also heard him tell her that this Jeep is olive green. I don't think the Jeep was olive green. Then he also opines to her during the 911 call that he thinks that there must be more than one person, because there's not enough time for him, whoever it was, to have gotten from the backs where he was all the way to the front. But then he explains after this to the prosecutor that this all went by very, very quickly for him. So the passage of time was instantaneous. He thought it was very quick, but it really wasn't, because he accelerated, he drove off, he parked at this park, he sees the Jeep drive away, and then he calls 911. So it was probably more time than he actually thought, and he probably didn't realize that the seats were out of the vehicle, so it wouldn't have taken much he's thinking, this whoever is in the back couldn't have possibly climbed over all these seats and gotten into the driver's side that quickly, but the seats weren't in there. The seat had been removed. All right, what else am I missing here? I think that is about it. So there were a couple of other, here's what I'm missing. The cross-examination. There was no cross-examination. Apparently, Lori is missing her file with all her exhibits that she wants to cross-examine him on. Her private investigator has this. Now, the private investigator is like a friend of a friend of a friend, that she hired. She can't get a hold of him. Everybody's trying to get a hold of him because he got the file. And the judge is like, well, what are the exhibits? Maybe we already have them. And she's like, can you get me a list? So bottom line is, he told the jury, we're going to take a witness out of order. There's not going to be a cross-examination yet, because we need to take a witness out of order, which it makes it sound like, we got to get this witness on and off the stand, which is what usually happens. You have an expert that's got to catch a flight or something, and you got to get him on and off the stand. But she hasn't cross-examined Brandon Boudreax yet. What? It's the oddest thing I've ever seen in my life, what's going on in this courtroom. He's giving her so much leniency. And during all this, when he's trying to sort out, whether she's going to do the cross or not do the cross, he's like, I see there's another document that's been filed, another motion. What is this motion? And she's like, it's rule, whatever. And he's like, you're trying to get me off the case again. Yes. Well, that'll go to the criminal judge, person in charge of the criminal judge. And I'm sure she'll rule on that as soon as she can. She'll get to it as soon as she can. But I'm going to proceed with this trial. Honest to God. She's sick, but she wrote this motion to get rid of the judge again. If I'm sick, I'm not going to be up writing any motions. I can tell you that. No. Anyway, that's what happened on day one of the Lori Vallow Daybell case. I will recap day two for you this weekend. Have a great one. I hope you guys have some great plans for this weekend. See you then. Bye.